Alrighty. Let's get started here. Let's get the question about build-up out of the way. Unless you're talking about things like claws, dark melee, dual blades, kinetic melee, things that require your build-up to connect with your foe in order to actually activate it or get the full effect of it, that's the only times you should be second guessing it. All you need to do to determine whether it's going to be really worth anything is, check down here, 20%, see how it scales. This one obviously, it doesn't scale that far, 31%. I don't think you're going to die over 10%, to be honest, on to hit. So, I really wouldn't worry too much about that, in all reality. But, that's predominantly how you would determine it. In this case, your build-up, very much so relevant to this build. Frankly, you can just put a recharge on it, and that would be dandy enough. Your base recharge will handle the rest. If you're really wondering why not just put, to hit buff and recharge, well, because I'm not going to die over the extra 3% accuracy, and that recharge looks even crappier. So, we're just going to put that in. There you go. Down to 63 seconds. I guess if you want to, you go a bit crazier. That's as far as you're going to dwindle it, so 49 seconds is at best what you should be looking for if you really want to go that route. But nonetheless, so next thing I want to touch on here before we get into this actual enhancing and everything is I want to talk about incarnates and how do they actually affect your output. Well, let's see. When you're talking about musculature, okay, we're going to use this as the example. Okay, musculature, I'm going to put it on right now. Radial. Okay, so we put radial musculature on. That's, I believe that's a 45% increase, if I remember correctly. Effect. Or 22% damage buff, looks like. Alright, that's fine. So, let's just take a look. Let's see where it's at. 75%, so Val for 22. No, I'm gonna say that's probably a 33% buff right there. 50, 67, yeah. Probably 33% increased damage. That's what your incarnates are literally doing. They're not buffing your power overall. They're actually buffing your enhancement power. That's what they're buffing. So, for example, if I take this off right now, okay, Barrage does 88 damage, okay. Now it's going to do 126 with this, damage increase invention. Okay. When I use musculature on it, it actually buffed it. Put it at 75%, whereas when I take it off, bumps it back down to 42. You see that? Okay. And, I'll show you this. Okay. 176 damage is how much it's doing. Put this on, that only increased it by 22 damage or 25 damage. Not that much. You're not going to die over it, so it's just not worth it. Okay. That goes the same with healing incarnates. Vigor, particularly, it's going to do the same thing. So just remember, if you put spiritual, it's going to increase the base recharge of all your powers. The base. Okay, making it so that way you can put more procs in, or you can worry less about how many slots you have in. But before you mess with that, make sure you have an idea which one you want to mess with. Don't sit here and try equipping all the incarnates trying to see it, because really you're just going to waste your time if you don't already know what you're wanting. So, and I think we already went over how I chose my powers, so I'm just going to skip on. Let's move on to actually building this. Personally, I always put one slot down here, and I try to make sure my health and everything is done. I particularly only do this with brutes, exclusively with brutes, because they can get their regeneration pretty naturally high. And then I go to all of my attacks, except for ones I don't feel like I'll use. And I'm going to cap them out. Alrighty. Bone Smasher. And then next, we're going to look at this. So we want to work with Fossilize before you work with any of your melee attacks. So we're going to look at here. We're going to see what we can do. So one of the things I'd like to do nowadays is I like to put Decimation chance for build up, because it has a chance to spike up your damage quite a bit, and as long as you're constantly pressing your buttons, which you will be, this little spike in damage makes a difference. And something you should get into the habit of doing is using Fossilize and then Energy Transfer, or whatever you have Decimation in. You know, use that, and you know, if off chance you get that buff and you know you use build up all at the same time, and you know, bam, hit them with your last power, you know, your strongest attack, they're gonna be in for a hurting. They're gonna be in for a hurting right there. So bear that in mind right there. Next, we have musculature currently on. So what we can do is we can put damage recharge. Now take a look here. This is what we're monitoring. We're monitoring our recharge, and we're monitoring our damage. Then go to, alright, I got my damage somewhere I want it to be. Just with those two alone, thanks to the musculature. Then I'm throwing this in there. Look at that. Our recharge is at 89%. And now we can fit a bunch of procs in here. Checking. And, you know, you can do something ridiculous like this. Boom. Boom. Your Fossilize is going to hurt like a mofo. Look at that. 511 damage. Your damage is pretty much in its cap part, and so is your recharge. You're golden right now. You're golden. There is nothing more you need to do. There's no more questioning. That's just how I do it. Okay. So, now you might be wondering, what about the endurance issue? Well, no one ever really questioned me about endurance. So, if you're really worried about your endurance causing you a dilemma here, then you have to figure out what you're willing to sacrifice. I guess in this case, what I would do is I would probably sacrifice the one that is the least affecting. So damage, accuracy, recharge is the one that's not affecting it the most, so that is the one I'm going to do. Okay. Now, we're going to go to here. Where's my total focus? Total focus, where are you? have it here somewhere. I just can't remember where it is. Okay, there we go. Okay. So, now we're going to break down archetype stuff. Generally, right here is where you want to use the best method you can to getting the best result. So right here, we want to use these hecatombs on energy transfer, because these are going to get really fast results really quickly. Look at that. Already done. I am in the clear right there. And then we're going to do... This is the sketchy part. So, energy transfer is already going to hit like a trucker. Now, one of the questions being, what do you do when you run out of the procs? Because you obviously don't just want to slam everything in there. Well, let's come back to it for a moment. And let's go over here. Let's figure out what we want to do for these guys. So I think we want to do... this. We're going to gun down that defense. We're going to gun down the defense. And then we're going to look here. Damage is at 82%, but I'm not going to die over 12 damage. And then we're going to go over here. Now, nice rule of thumb. You got to remember, if you mirrored this up here, the recharge on Barrage is already naturally lower on Bone Smasher. So that's why you wouldn't put this down here. And that's why you wouldn't put these three up there. Okay, so just keep that in mind. The thing with the higher recharge, you want the better recharging ideas. So right here, damage recharge and, you know, the last two, that's against recharge relatively low. Whereas over here, it's at 53%. I know it's not fabulous, but we can fix that easier. And even if we don't fix it perfectly, it's still going to be really low. Whereas Bone Smasher over here is taking more work to get it done. Bear that in mind. That's how you're choosing your archetype sets. That's how you're splitting them. That's how you make this stuff work. You know, you want your stronger attacks to be on the lower recharge. That's just fact. So that's your priority. So once again, we're going to look at procs. Let's take a look at procs. So we have this to work with. I don't really like anything in the stun part. So let's, as I mentioned before, I like to put Perfect Zinger in what hits the most commonly. Barrage, it's going to hit really commonly. So more times than not, this is going to go off. Has a 20% chance, way lower than, let's say, this, which has 75% chance, or, you know, let's show an example where this, which has a 58% chance. So just bear that in mind. The lower the chance that it has to land, you're going to want it on your fastest attack, your most frequent attack, which is going to be Barrage. You don't want it over here on energy transfer where it's going to be slowing down, you know, your damage output because it's never landing, or it's not landing frequently enough, or it's landing when you miss. So just bear that in mind. So we're going to zip right through this part right here. So this is already doing a lot of damage right here. So we're going to put this on. Okay, we want this to hit really hard. I'm going to put that on. And then from here, you do kind of run out of options again. That is true. You do run out of options. So this is hitting for 592 at the moment. Go back over here. Let's figure out what we're going to do. I think we're going to fix this to have this chance to hold. To get that recharge up, see it's 75% now, was 53%. And, you know, that's a chance to hold, so someone's going to be on the sorry end of that, because that's going to be hitting frequently. And right here, you can do a few things. You can do a few things with this. But you could also do this. We splice it again between these sets and get some damage going. Okay, our recharge is still slacking. You gotta remember, I'm intentionally dragging these numbers out with this one, so that way this one carries the rest and we just lose a slot in general to worry about. And then we get the bonus, the 4% damage bonus. This is just how you splice, this is how you do it. It's very, very basic. You gotta remember, we still have total focus to worry about here. So, now we're gonna look over here. I think, yep, we haven't figured out what we're gonna put there. So, now we're gonna look over here. We're gonna see what we're gonna do. We could do Mako. So we have 1, 2. We have 2 procs left before we overlap. So we need to figure out if we want to put them on total focus or not. Or if we just want to splice again. I'm thinking I'm going to want to splice again. So we're going to put these right here. And there we go. And that's sitting for 227. It's sitting for 220. And now here's where we get to the fun part. Figuring this out. This can be a bit more unpleasant depending on how you want to look at it. So automatically we're going to put the last few procs that we have right here. And we're going to figure out what we want to do. And this, like I said, there's not a super easy way to do this. There's just not. So if you think there's an easy method, there's really not an easy method to the madness. So we're missing, I can't tell what we're missing here. I think we're missing that. No, it's not that. Oh dear. Accuracy damage? It's not going to do anything for us. So let's go ahead and look into getting these. So we're going to do 3 of this because I don't like the bonuses on here. And that should give us the rest. So damage recharge. And I can do accuracy damage. Just not quite there. Alright, ignore that. So we're just gonna proc it out then. Chance for hold. And what else? And maybe do damage recharge. Like I said, you know, that's all about fiddling. And that'll be enough for now.